Welcome back to video 2 in this series. And here I delight in sharing with you some subtle insights that have been revealed to me through, particularly for the most part, my spiritual lineage or tradition that has been kept close to my chest for quite some time. Let's begin. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 13, much is actually revealed. And particularly we find an ancient alignment instruction for how the body, or more specifically the spine, is to be held during meditation and the cultivation of concentration, and of course during pranayama. However, in addition, we are also instructed on where to hold the gaze. So most people interpret this as gazing at the tip of the nose, quite literally, the physical nose. And so when we hold our awareness at the tip of the physical nose, usually this is a translation from the Sanskrit word nasikagram, nasikagram. So some may instruct it is quite literally the eyes, like a drishti, gazing at the tip of the nose. However, as with all shastra or traditional texts, there are hidden layers of meaning. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, it is suggested that there are 12 layers of meaning to the whole text, to every verse, and that in fact every verse is a meditation of its own, which is quite beautiful. But this reference to the tip of the nose is not quite literally the tip of the physical nose as we imagine it to be. Rightly so. But it is a little more subtle. The gaze is inwardly oriented to a place in the subtle yogic anatomy. And this place is called the Kutastha. It is situated between the eyebrows, similar to one of the main chakras. And if you can imagine the tip of the nose, but actually in reverse, this sort of convergence of the nostrils, the nadis, the channels, depending on if we're talking physical or subtle. But it is a space around the forehead and between the eyebrows. And it is believed, the Kutastha is believed to be the site of changeless consciousness at the spiritual eye. It's a little similar to the spiritual heart, which is another conversation all of its own, the spiritual heart. Not entirely separate from, but not the same as the physical heart. So the Kutastha, the tip of the nose, is, at least in my spiritual tradition, the intent in this passage. And as you can imagine, that space between the eyebrows is quite a common place of focus for dharana, for concentration, as we cultivate our capacity for meditation. Now, furthermore, moving on, in classical yoga, which is the path that is most commonly associated with Patanjali's Yoga Sutra or Shastra, we hear of two very similar Sanskrit terms, vichara and viveka. Both are, I would say, loosely described as being discernment or inquiry. But there is an important subtle difference to be understood. When we understand this, we can then digest and assimilate and embody the teachings in the texts that we are gifted to receive and read. So the first is vichara, is more of an active inquiry, like an investigation, a questioning of sorts. Of course, ideally this is with maintaining as much, I would say, neutrality and composure as possible. There is an active initiation to question and to seek out, specifically with the intention of seeking out highest truths. It's a conscious choice to engage in vichara. Now, on the other hand, viveka is more of a state of being, a state of higher discernment and discrimination that is embodied. It is a more passive, direct insight, a passive sort of inherent clarity and wisdom reflected through that direct insight, reflected through intuition, and the way that one is able to see the world, discern between higher self and the not self, the highest reality and the mundane material reality in every moment, with steady wisdom and unshakable awareness of cosmic order and higher truths at all times. It's a state of being, Viveka. I really love to see this. Viveka is kind of like knowing that there is treasure. You know what the treasure is, what the truth is. Not only do you know that there is treasure, but you know what the treasure is. Now, vichara is the digging to find that treasure. Yeah, it's the more active, maybe mundane, day-to-day inquiry. So, another consideration, how do we discern the difference between egoism and egotism through the lens of yoga specifically? Of course, the ego is required to operate in this world, especially as householders. It is an essential part of us, often gets a bad rap. So simultaneously, it can be the cause of our shortcomings and our downfalls in life. Egotism is a trap for spiritual seekers. We can see this through claims of being awakened or a claim of being advanced. We often see it in spiritual bypassing or through behavior that just simply does not match words. You can imagine, gurus falling from grace. It's a form of pride and a sense of self-importance. It's more behavioral and emotional rather than existential. In contrast, egoism is a fundamental identification with the sense of I, of me, of the individual. I believe that I am this body. I believe that I am this mind. I am the doer of everything that I do, moment to moment. I am that which is thinking. I am that which is watching this video right now. So it's related to the veil between the individual self, that is me, the householder, and the true higher self. It's more subtle and existential. We realize the pure witness consciousness when we are able to transcend momentarily, often usually through meditation, the state of egoism. It's fundamental to live this individual existence. Egoism would be the most relative to the Sanskrit words asmita or ahamkara. You may have heard of either of those. So we need to overcome egotism to cultivate humility on the path. Then, as we mature in our practices and our assimilation in yogic teachings, techniques, we tap into experiences where we are able to temporarily dissolve egoism to experience an awareness of higher consciousness, of the divine. So in the third and final video in this series, I offer you an opportunity to uphold a vision and experience a subtle transformation so that yoga becomes a lens which we view the world constantly. Everything is yoga, but I don't mean that in a flippant way. It's really anchored in reverence. So if this resonates for you, you will no doubt also be interested to know more about the upcoming training that I am offering for anyone who has completed a 200-hour yoga teacher training or higher. So I hope that this short video has illuminated some beautifully rich, mystical aspects of yoga and provided some discernment and seeds for further inquiry and deepening of your understanding of the great, vast teachings. So may your practice begin to shape the way in which you move throughout the world. Ram Ram.